and we had the old one. And that, I thought that was kind of fun.
Homer got the new outhouse and you got the old one?
Yeah, sure, they weren't, government wasn't building one for white people. They were just building it for the blacks. See, that was when I was a little girl. We were already doing reparations. Got that?
Wow.
It was in Georgia, deep south. But he would talk to me. He had a little dog, and he'd sit in the doorway of his little cottage, little house, where the sun was shining on him, and his little dog would sit beside him, and I would stand down. I was like 11 years old, maybe 12, 11 and a half. And I'd ask him questions, and he'd talk to me. And he would laugh, and he was good-natured, and nice old man. And I remember one thing, I've always remember what he said. He says, my folks, they get upset when people calls them a nigger. He says, it don't bother me for him to call me a nigger. After all, I is a nigger.
Good grief.
And I said, well, my mother would wash my mouth out with soap if I called anybody a nigger.
You told him that?
Huh?
Did you tell him that?
Yeah.
Really?
I'm not, yeah, but see, he was so ignorant, he didn't know that was,
Bless you.
he didn't know that was bad. That was, but he was a nice old man. I had a camera that had belonged to my sister. You got 6 or 8 exposures on a big piece of film. And you had to pay money to have it developed and so forth, and buy another roll of film. I was very careful what I took pictures of, but I took a picture of him sitting in that doorway with the sun on his face and a big smile and his little dog beside him. And it was a beautiful picture, and I was proud of it. And I had it in my album.
Really?
Yes, I put it in my album. It was beautiful. I was proud of that. And it just disappeared. I don't know where it went. I wish I had it today.
And this was the man who you told me, like the sticks. Okay, like he would make a broom out of just sticks.
Oh yes, that's what they did. In South Georgia, in those days, they didn't have lawnmowers. Nobody pushed a lawnmower, but there was always some slave or ex-slave or somebody that would get out there and sweep the yard. They kept dead leaves fell, and were swept up every day.
Wow.
Every yard was just white sand with fence around it. I had a little dog, had to make sure it was a gate. The big midnight, I'm in bed trying to sleep, and here comes that midnight freight train. Whee-oo, whee-oo, it's coming through about 100 miles an hour, and my little dog starts barking. And I know he's running and jumping on that gate. And I'm saying, Lord, please let the gate hold. Please don't let him get out. Because I knew he would go out. The railroad track was like 200 feet away.
Right close to where you were.
All the houses were right next. That's
right
where
near
the
the
road
railroad.
was.
Right.
Everybody lived on one side. There was the railroad track down the middle, a road on this side, and a road on this side. Store, railroad track here, store down here, and houses on this side. And that's the way all those towns were in Georgia. You go through on the interstate now, they were still like that, except they paved the streets. The railroad still went through the middle of town because they just built the town around the railroad.
Right. Well, it's kind of the same with all the towns begin on a waterway.
Yeah.
Because that's how people,
at that time.
That's how people moved.
Uh-huh.
That's how people were transported.
Yeah. But if you could, you did, Well, my daddy he was brought in there as principal of the school. And it was all right. It was an okay year for him, I think. He didn't complain, but it wasn't for me. Now, the school was first grade through 12, and it didn't have running water either.
Wow.
And out in the yard there was a round building, and the girls went in one side, the boys in the other. The wall down the middle. In the middle of the building, there was apparently a deep hole, and there was a cover. There was a seat, a semicircle on the girls' side. I'll never get one. And there was like 4 or 5 holes you could sit on to pee or whatever. And then you went outside. You've done your business. The boys went in on the other side, and boy, I mean, I tried to wait till I got home, okay? But this kind of thing was just too much for me and my mother. And so I told my daddy, I said, we're not gonna do this again. She said, yes, okay. So the next year was when we went to Miami. And,
Can't even imagine.
but the man who got my dad the job and was head of the school board there, chairman of the school board, had been a classmate of my dad's at Peabody College. And he got to know him, and he liked him. His last name was Morgan, good name in the South. And so because he liked Dr. Morgan, he said, we'll go down there, and that climate will be good for me, because it was far enough south that you wouldn't have cold weather. But you did, you had some nasty weather.
Right.
You know, like, it was just a little bit above Jacksonville, but it's bad. So, nephew lived in Miami, said to my dad, I can get you a job here. You come on down to Miami, I'll get you a job. So that's what we did with it next year.
And then how did your dad, Humfleet, his name is Mr. Humfleet, what was his first name?
Daniel
Humfleet.
Dan, he was called Dan.
I've seen pictures of him in the old archives. Now, how did he get from Miami then he came to Bonita, right?
Well, we were over there in Miami, and he had been teaching at a college in Kentucky, and there wasn't any college in South Florida, anywhere.
Right.
So University of Miami had just started, but they weren't hiring anybody but Jews. In the second place, he was 40, he was almost 50 years old. And they weren't hiring anybody because it was depression. You hired the young men with the families, growing families. You didn't hire any old retirees. Okay, wouldn't get a job teaching at the public schools anywhere. So they bought a little business, which was a laundry and dry cleaning agency, where it was in a nice store building. People would drop off their clothes, and you would put tags on them, and the truck would come and pick them up, take them where they bring them back on hangers and packages.
Right.
And you would collect the money, do the cash register bit, and then you divide up with the laundry, you know. And my mother helped. My mother would keep the shop while my dad went out to substitute teach, which was kind of a rough thing, substitute teaching. But we did that and we lived, the only place nearby that we could get a place to live was right behind the laundry dry cleaning agency. It was a big building. There was a nice little living quarters back there. And we lived there until apartment opened. Upstairs was nice apartments.
Oh, that's nice.
And we got that, we lived up there. And then, and I was in school, I liked the school there. But what happened was, I think my mother decided that Miami was not a good place to raise a girl, to raise a young woman. It was a sinful city, you know.
Right, Miami.
Wild.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I mean, I didn't know about that. I thought it was fine.
You going to the John, Bill?
You going?
You going to the John?
You going there?
Let's sit outside afterwards. I'll turn
Well,
that
then
fan.
we'll go out. You go ahead and pee, and then we're going outside.
And I'll turn that fan on.
Huh? Well, all right, you can do that. Yeah, we'll wait. Anyhow, funny story, right story.
Shaking his head.
So, God was telling you. What was it? Okay. My father's oldest sister was married to a man who had been superintendent of a huge coal mine, and he had retired, and he had gone to Bonita Springs, and he had bought an orange grove down there, and he had built a nice little house, and they only were there in the winter time.
What's their name?
Huh?
You remember their name?
Gilbert.
Gilbert.
He was Felix Gilbert, and anyway, it was right on 41. There wasn't anything much there. It was like Clio, but it didn't have a railroad. It just had one road.
Now, Bonita Springs was originally called Survey. Did you know that?
No, it was Bonita by the time I was there.
All right.
But anyway, he got back in those days. Now I believe I'm right about this, but don't quote me. I believe that each school district had its own school board, and they ran it. They made decisions. They were local decisions. They controlled who taught there.
Right.
And probably what they taught. See?
The school board was probably made of parents, wouldn't you say?
It was made up of people in the community. Now my uncle was highly respected, and I don't know if he was on the school board, but they listened to him. And they needed a principal, and he said, my brother-in-law is a semi-retired principal, and he will do a good job for you. And by golly, they hired him. And so we moved over there, and we stayed in their house until we could find a place. And my dad taught, it was first grade through 9th was all. Now, it wasn't a very big school, but it was nice, and he helped, he did a good job. But I was in the 10th grade by that time. I had to ride a school bus all the way from Bonita Springs into Fort Myers High School and back every day.
Wow.
And it was
And that was to Fort Myers High School.
the road was 2 lanes, uneven. The school bus was the oldest one the county owned, but on the longest run, the fewest kids going to Bonita was the oldest one. I swear it was a Model T. It had, no kidding, it had holes in the floorboards, and as dust and dirt came up as it dropped. You wouldn't get in it today.
So you went all the way down to where Thompson Street and 2nd Street is, where the
Oh yeah.
that's where you went, right?
Oh yeah. Okay. So that lasted 1 year, and my mother said, "We're not going to do this to Pat. She can't take part in any after-school activities. She can't really make friends because she gets there late and she has to leave, jump on that bus and go head home. And it's just rough." So we moved. He took a job just teaching. He got a job teaching at Fort Myers High School. And we moved in, and we bought a nice two-story house in the block of Royal Palm Avenue, the first block from Thompson Street. It was about the 3rd house from the corner, big two-story house, in a row of nice two-story houses. And my dad could walk to his job, and I could walk to school.
Oh,
Now,
perfect.
wartime, gas was rationed, 3 gallons a week was all you could get.
so walking to work and walking to school was perfect.
We had gas to go somewhere on the weekend. Yeah,
There you go.
worked out. And he taught there until he retired. He was way past 70 years when he retired. They kept him on because everybody loved him, and he was qualified to teach all kinds of subjects. So if they came up short somewhere, they could just plug him in. And they,
Well, when I get on some of these, there's these groups that I get into on the internet,
Uh-huh.
and I've seen pictures of Daniel, Mr. Humphrey.
Uh-huh.
I've seen pictures
he
of
was
him.
tall and thin.
Yep, and people comment, "Oh, I remember Mr. Humphrey. He was a good teacher." There
Well-
were people make comments about it.
Well, he had a master's degree from Peabody College, Teachers College in Nashville, Tennessee. And he had lots of experience, and he understood kids. And I never took a subject under him. I just worked out, so I didn't. He was never actually my teacher, but he would help me at home. But, the superintendent, somebody important told him, Mr. Humphrey, you have a job here as long as you want it.
Wow.
As long as you want to stay, you've got a job.
When
And
did your
he never got senile or anything
when
like
did your
that.
dad pass? What year did your dad pass away?
What?
Can you remember what year your dad passed away?
Yes, I do. 72.
1972.
No, I'm sorry, 1974.
Is he-
My dad passed away in 74. My mother passed away in 76.
Are they in the cemetery downtown?
Over here on
Michigan.
no.
Oh, they're on Colonial.
Listen, he used to worry about taking care of the graves of his ancestors back in the country. Worried about nobody's up there mowing, nobody's taking care of this. And he was so proud when they opened that cemetery. It was local people owned it, and they guaranteed that they would take care of that cemetery.
That cemetery is very well maintained.
It was much better when the first
It's
opened.
well maintained.
He was so proud. He came and showed me, look, we have bought the lot, we paid for everything, you don't have to worry about it. He was so pleased that we wouldn't have to worry about keeping it.
Yeah.
And so that's when Bill and I decided that we would buy too. We bought it when we were quite young, because we thought it was a good idea. And we
I gotta
got,
make sure he
we
washes
got a
his
bargain.
hands. Ask him if he can wash his hands.
I didn't do the water.
What was the name of the place? Clio?
And, yeah, that was just north of Savannah. We would go down to Savannah, like once every couple of weeks and stock up on groceries.
On
you
a
know.
train would you go or drive?
Huh?
How would you get to Savannah? On the train?
Oh, no, we would
drive?
We drove, sure. We had just bought a new car. It was a 1937 Plymouth. It was a lovely sedan, and it drove well and rode well. And I learned to drive on those country roads in Savannah, around Clio, Georgia.
Right.
It was 4 on the floor.
4 on the floor.
4 on the floor. You know,
Wow.
reverse, low.
Yeah. That's amazing, Pat.
You have to use the clutch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
4 on the floor.
Yeah. Boy.
I'm gonna tell Bill to wash his hands.
I can wait till you can.
Bill, did you remember to wash your hands?
Uh,
You wanna wash your hands in the kitchen?
uh, uh,
No. Yeah.
Let me get him to wash his hands. Did you wash your hands, Bill?
yeah,
I don't think you did. Did you
I
remember to
did.
wash your hands?
yeah,
Okay.
I did.
You can wash them again in the kitchen if you want.
uh,
So how many trains? Tell me about the trains again. The
Can
orange
I tell you
blossom.
about? I don't know if is it Clio? Or in Fort Myers?
What I want to do is hear the story about the train dropping off the mail.
No.
So the train has the mail, right? It's going through town, but it doesn't stop.
No, it didn't stop. I guess it slowed down a little. And there was a pole with a hook on it and a strap. I can't describe it now.
Right, okay.
But it was safe to do this, but you'd have to stand back.
Right.
And they would drop the bag, the mail bag, it would hook on the
Somebody
hook.
on the train would reach out and drop the mail
Yeah,
down.
that's right. I guess he had a pole or something. There was a lever. He could put it on the lever, and the lever would hold it out there. It would go on the hook. It wasn't. Nobody was taking a chance on getting hurt.
Right.
But they would drop the bag on the pole, and then when they would. I don't know what they did about the one that left off.
They would pick it up. They would pick up the outgoing and then the incoming, right?
Yeah. And then the station master would go out and get it, and bring it in and
Wow.
take it out to
And that's
the
just-
little post office.
You said that was north or south of Savannah? Clio.
North.
North of
It was up
Savannah's
north.
pretty far south.
You went north, up almost to the North Carolina line.
Right.
Where the river came down.
I'm gonna fall down.
You're gonna fall down. What do you mean? Here,